Imagine a clash between two massive forces, each embodying unique aspects that are only found within the Bleach universe. Despite all of this insane hype, the execution of this battle just left fans pondering on what could have been. This is the predicament that Urahara's battle against Askin Nakk Le Vaar finds itself in. I mean, on paper this was promised to be an explosive encounter. On one hand, you have the tactical genius Kisuke Urahara, whose mysterious past combined with his untapped potential had made him a very worthy contender to go up against Askin Nakk Le Vaar, the underdog of the Schutzstaffel, who has a tendency to unexpectedly turn the tide of battle. Askin versus Urahara had all of the necessary ingredients in order to make for an iconic classic showdown, but for some reason it didn't quite meet our expectations. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down and analysing this battle, discussing what went well and what could have been done better in my opinion. I'll be discussing each and every clash between Askin and Urahara, analysing all of the strategies that are employed by both of the combatants, as well as explaining some of the symbolism and thematic elements that Kubo weaves into the narrative of this fight. There is a lot to dive into with this epic encounter, and I do urge you all to stick around until the very end of this video, as we'll be speculating on how this battle may be expanded within the 1000-Year Blood War arc anime. So without further delay, here is my complete breakdown and analysis of Askin versus Urahara. Discover the Undead Collection and be amongst the very first to join us on our journey over at getsuga.com. Going into this fight, Urahara had more of a supportive role during the 1000-Year Blood War arc. His encounter with Askin promised to be his first fully fledged battle, hopefully exploring the complete arsenal of his moveset. Fans were speculating that this may include his highly anticipated Bankai reveal. Over the course of the story, Kubo had heavily been hinting at Urahara's profound combat prowess. During the Turn Back the Pendulum arc, we learn about his origins as an assassin within the Stealth Division. Then we learn about how he had founded the Shinigami Research and Development Institute. All of these feats were consistent reminders of Urahara's immense power and influence. Urahara proved himself worthy of going up against powerful Espada like Yami and Ukiara, and later he had shown an incredible amount of resilience against Aizen during the fake Karakura Town arc. Urahara was definitely a powerhouse who was just waiting to unleash his full potential. Askin Nakk Le Vaar, on the other hand, was quickly established as a formidable opponent, despite his very limited appearances within the story. He was introduced during a confrontation between Bazby and Hashwald following the first Quincy invasion, where he proves himself to be very clever but laid back. Over the course of the 1000-Year Blood War arc, Kubo made a point to showcase Askin's strength, building him up as a character of intrigue and formidable ability. Askin had skillfully avoided a battle against Mayuri, proving himself to be a tactician as he skillfully decides on which opponents to face off against. Askin is later promoted into Yuhobak's personal elite guard, the Schutzstaffel, and this is a testament to how powerful he truly is. His resilience against Uetsu Nimaya and then his brief encounters with Grimmjow and Ichigo further emphasize the hype surrounding his character. Both Urahara and Askin received substantial build-up leading up to their battle, so without further delay, I'm really excited to talk about everything that went well and what could have been done better during Askin's battle against Urahara. The fight takes place between chapters 664 to 666. Now this fact alone is a massive red flag. For context, Mayuri's battle against Pernaida had lasted for about 7 chapters, and similarly Shunsui's fight against Lil Barrow had also lasted for 7 chapters. But unfortunately, Urahara only got 3 chapters dedicated to his fight. There was a bit of a prelude prior to Urahara battling Askin, because originally this was Yoruichi's battle, but Askin's power had proved to be too much for her to handle. Towards the end of their battle, Askin deduces that Yoruichi is on the verge of death, but this is when Urahara steps in to assist her. His arrival immediately turns the tide of the battle as he administers a cure that restores Yoruichi's stamina a fair bit. This newfound burst of energy fails to really do anything of substance, and once again Yoruichi is bested by Askin. One of my favorite things about watching this Sternritter fight in particular is that Askin is so deceptively strong that he needs to remind his opponents of this fact, because there is a tendency for them to underestimate him. He reminds Yoruichi that he had no issues tagging her when she was at her peak, and as such she shouldn't expect to fare any better in her current condition. He then goes on to take her down with a single punch, but Urahara then intervenes once again and forces Yoruichi to transform into a berserker state. Fans refer to this form as Yoruichi's God of Thunder form. Yoruichi's new form only succeeds in making Askin activate a transformation of his own, and this is when Urahara steps into the battle. Askin immediately activates a Gift Ball Deluxe which entraps both himself and the rapidly weakening Yoruichi. Following the activation of his holy form, Askin gives Urahara no time to regroup, and he immediately begins to destroy Urahara's organs one at a time. He does this by using his Gift Ring technique, which allows him to focus his lethal power onto one spot and to kill it immediately. This is what he uses in order to blind Urahara. Urahara is then pushed to activate his Bankai, with Askin realizing that the tone of the battle has just shifted. This is after he notices the massive avatar that has appeared behind Urahara, prompting him to now be cautious around his opponent. His fears were confirmed when Askin's left arm is split open. Askin immediately retreats, which results in his arm sewing itself back up as Urahara compliments his level-headedness. He had assumed that Urahara's Bankai power is limited by its range, so instead of cutting his own arm off, he had made distance between himself and Urahara. Urahara then reveals that his Bankai's ability allows him to restructure whatever his sword has touched as long as his target is within range. He first utilizes his power in order to restore his own eyesight. Urahara then jumps into the air and attacks Askin. He does end up wounding him here before turning around and clashing with Askin, as the Sternritter is in shock as to how Urahara is able to see him after having his eyes destroyed. While they clash, Urahara uses his Bankai in order to restructure his hand and to enhance his strength. His enhancements are to such an extent that a basic punch from Urahara is all it takes to send Askin flying. Askin appears to be frustrated that their battle is now turning into one of brute force, as he reminds Urahara that they are still inside of his Gift Ball Deluxe. Askin's power begins to increase as he tunes up the toxicity scale of his Gift Ball Deluxe in order to weaken Urahara, but it appears as though the Sternritter has acted a second too late, as a hand then pierces through Askin's chest from behind. This hand of course belongs to Grimmjow, who had sneaked into the Gift Ball Deluxe under Urahara's guidance, as he delivers the finishing blow by ripping Askin's heart out of his chest. Askin reveals that the power of his Gift Ball Deluxe magnifies upon his death, as both Urahara and Grimmjow then collapse, as it seems as though they have succumbed to the effects of the Gift Ball Deluxe. Overall, Urahara's battle against Askin is an extremely short fight, and it's made even shorter if you ignore all of the dialogue that is exchanged between the two of them. It is obvious that this battle was supposed to have a lot more screen time than it ended up having within the manga. Because of the rushed nature of the finale of the 1000-Year Blood War arc, it's understandable that a lot of corners had to be cut, and the majority of Askin's battle against Urahara was unfortunately left on the chopping room floor. Kubo does still, however, incorporate interesting metaphors and themes into this battle. This battle speaks about humanity's relationship with the world and the role that science plays in helping us to understand the world. During their battle, one of the first pieces of dialogue that they exchange is Askin explaining why he had decided to follow Yhwach, as he reveals that he was curious to see the new world that Yhwach would create. This is in reference to Yhwach's desire to destroy the three realms and to rid the concept of death from reality. Urahara then mocks him and calls him a failure of a scientist, because no true scientist would sit back and wait on someone else to create the world that they had wanted to see for themselves. This exchange of dialogue immediately sets a difference between Urahara and Askin. Askin generally believes that Yhwach's creation is the natural evolution of the universe, whereas Urahara believes that the world is what we shape it to be. Urahara represents the evolution of the human race through their own ingenuity and their own scientific discoveries, while Askin represents nature and the natural course of progression, which is similar to how diseases and viruses continue to evolve and replicate within nature. These themes are further emphasized in the different abilities that both Urahara and Askin exhibit. Urahara's Bankai allows him to remake, restructure, and restore anything that he touches, while Askin's powers allow him to manipulate naturally occurring chemicals into amounts that can become lethal. Askin is able to take advantage of naturally occurring substances in order to kill his opponents, and he combines this with his ability to adapt to whatever external factor that he goes up against, and this is similar to certain strains of diseases or viruses, as they are able to adapt and evolve in order to overcome specific external variables and to develop traits like antibiotic resistance. There were so many fascinating concepts introduced into this battle. I just wish that Kubo had enough time to flesh out all of the points that he had wanted to make. Thankfully, Askin did get plenty of time to showcase his moveset and abilities, as he had spent a few chapters before his battle against Urahara fighting against Grimmjow, Ichigo, and then Yushido and Yoruichi. But unfortunately, Urahara's Bankai, with its ability to restructure anything, had very minimal screen time, and this is one major aspect of their battle which I'm really looking forward to seeing expanded within the 1000 Year Blood War arc anime. I think that the manga is a perfect preview of what's to come within the anime, because Kubo is supervising over the new Bleach anime and he has already made plenty of additions within Core 1 and Core 2. I have no doubt that a lot of additions and changes will be made to Askin's battle against Urahara, and hopefully with all of the additions we'll get to see a lot more of Urahara's Bankai, because its showcase within the manga was definitely rushed, with their battle ending in chapter 666, and with the entirety of the Bleach manga wrapping up 20 chapters later, you could see that Kubo was rushed and wanted to just get through all of these different plot points in order to reach the finale of the manga. So let me know all of your thoughts as to how Askin's battle against Urahara had unfolded within the manga. What changes and additions are you expecting for the anime to make? Are you looking forward to seeing more of Urahara's Bankai in the anime version of this fight? And how do you think Askin's role will be expanded upon in the new anime version? I look forward to reading all of your comments, so definitely continue the discussion under this video. And lastly, thank you for making it to the end of this one, and I cannot wait to see you in my next Bleach video. A massive thank you goes out to all of my amazing Patreon supporters for helping to make this video possible. If you also want to support the channel and see your name in the end of my videos, then check out my Patreon, which has loads of perks like early video access and so much more. Thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.